In early 2026, Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz has shifted the global energy landscape in ways few predicted. And for former US President Donald Trump, the stakes couldn't be higher. The strait, a critical choke point through which about 20% of the world's oil passes, has become a geopolitical tinderbox. Iran's new strategy, charging a toll of roughly $2 million per tanker passing through. This bold move comes after a series of failed attempts by the US to curb Iran's influence, culminating in what many now see as a significant foreign policy misstep by Trump. His administration launched a risky approach intended to topple the Iranian regime, seize control of Middle Eastern oil, and reposition Israel as the dominant regional power, all while hoping to create a new Middle Eastern alliance friendly to US interests. But reality had other plans. Despite the relentless military pressure that reportedly destroyed 80% of Iran's missile launchers, Tehran not only survives but has expanded its leverage by effectively controlling Hormuz, forcing the world to reckon with a new energy landlord. Here's the problem. Major US allies, notably South Korea, Japan, and even Australia, have distanced themselves, prioritizing their energy security over Washington's push for confrontation. These nations rely on Middle Eastern oil to the tune of nearly 90% of their supply. And there's no practical substitute given the ongoing war in Ukraine and instability in Russian ports. So, while Trump's rhetoric escalates with threats of war and destruction, the practical reality is these allies are negotiating quietly with Iran to keep their oil flowing, underlining a critical economic truth. No government, regardless of ideology or alliance, will risk its citizens' energy needs for geopolitical posturing. This dynamic exposes the limits of America's influence in a globalized market where energy and commerce transcend political slogans. Trump's threats to sever NATO ties or close strategic US bases in Europe, including the pivotal one at Gibraltar controlling the Mediterranean gateway, signal a deepening isolation that undermines the very alliances crucial to US power projection. Meanwhile, economic headwinds compound the crisis. The US has seen no net job creation in the private sector over the past 6 months, and inflationary pressures linked to energy disruptions threaten to stall any Federal Reserve plans to cut interest rates. Tourism, a sector contributing nearly 9% to US GDP, is also declining sharply, hit by war fears and tighter immigration controls. This economic malaise shapes a harsh trade-off. Endless conflict risks domestic instability and economic stagnation, while diplomatic failure emboldens adversaries. What almost nobody highlights is how this turmoil benefits other key players like China. While the US stumbles, Beijing's careful diplomacy presents it as a peace broker in the Middle East, simultaneously preparing to capitalize on the reconstruction with its infrastructure expertise. The contrast between American bravado and Chinese patience reveals a critical competitive edge: soft power, leveraged through economic statecraft rather than military might. Trump's gamble in Iran, once seen by supporters as a bold, all-in move, now looks like an overreach without a viable exit strategy. If Iran maintains control of the strait and gains legitimacy from the global oil trade, it could mark a watershed moment reminiscent of the Suez Crisis, signaling a shift in global power balance. The question now is whether the United States can recalibrate, rebuild alliances, and restore its standing in a world where energy security drives foreign policy. And failure means higher costs for companies, consumers, and governments alike. In the end, this story is a vivid reminder that in international relations, as in markets, success depends on understanding incentives, fostering cooperation, and managing risks, not merely on threats or brute force. The future will tell whether America learns these lessons or continues down a path that risks marginalizing its influence while empowering rivals who understand the subtle art of negotiation and power.